today's video, we're going to talk about factoring the difference of squares. The key to factoring the difference of squares is recognizing when you have two perfect squares being subtracted. That's where the difference comes from in the name. Instead of doing complicated factoring, we're going to use a shortcut. We're going to break each square into two binomials. So for example, using our formula, a squared minus, that's the difference, b squared is equal to our two binomials, a minus b times a plus b. So let's look at a couple of examples. For example, if we're asked to factor x squared minus 16, we need to ask ourselves three questions, or take 3 steps to do this. So question number 1, are our two terms perfect squares? Well, x squared is the square of x, and 16 is the square of 4. So we can rewrite this in our formula, x squared minus 4 squared is the same thing as saying x minus 4, x plus 4, into our two binomials. So our third step here is after we have our two binomials, or our answer, we need to FOIL this out to see if this is exactly the same thing. So we want to make sure that this right here is the same thing as this. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to use our FOIL method. So FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, last. So let's look at our first terms. So we're going to take our first terms. So x times x is x squared. Our second terms, or outside terms, first, outside, so x times 4 is 4x. I stands for inside, negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And then L stands for last, which is our negative 4 times 4. So we're left with negative 16. So before we end, let's simplify our like terms. So we're left with x squared. 4x minus 4x is 0x. So we're left with x squared minus 16. So we now know that this is in fact the same thing as this if we follow those 3 steps. Okay, let's practice a couple more. So let me go down here. Let's practice. Let's say, for example, we have a problem that says factor x squared minus 49. So let's go through our 3 steps again. So step 1, let's make sure that both terms are perfect squares. So x squared is the square of x, and 49 is the square of 7. So in other words, x squared minus 7 squared is the same thing as saying x minus 7 plus 7. Okay, so again, we could go back and refoil this out, but we don't need to because based on the first example, we know that this, when we FOIL it out, is the same thing as doing this. All right, let's practice one more. I want you guys to try this one on your own before watching me do it. So factor 25 x squared minus 36. So go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. So I'm assuming that you've paused the video. So let's go through each one of our terms. So 25 is the square of 5. We know x squared is the square of x, and 36 is the square of 6. So let's put this into our form, or into our equation. So 5x squared minus 6 squared is the same thing as saying 5x minus 6 times 5x plus 6. And again, if we were to factor this out, we would end up with this here would be the same thing as this. So that's it. You've just learned how to factor the difference of squares in under 6 minutes. If you found this helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button for more tutorials. Also grab my factoring practice worksheet on Teachers Pay Teachers. The link is in below. Thanks for watching.